Heather Miyako.
Heather, yeah. Heather
So
gave it her all.
Yeah. Again,
Did not win one episode.
I would love to say that it was the very first time I worked with Heather.
Yeah.
Right. Like I mentioned earlier that I'd already worked with everyone else and met everyone else and knew what I was getting into. They knew me, which made it easier.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, again, they trusted me that they're going to have a good time. And Christoph helped find Heather, bring her to the table. I sent her an email. We corresponded. And I mean, when she arrived, she was a pleasure to work with. It was amazing. And I know you had worked with her before, which was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing I want to talk about is, and I want to talk about this to Heather, is that when we had the Ted situation where Ted couldn't make it and we needed to find a host.
Yeah.
Your first gut reaction was Heather was going to be the rules lawyer.
I was thinking that like Heather would have been just a perfect fit.
So I don't know if I did tell you this or not, but once we had already settled on Niall and we got Brian and all that, and we were playing one of the games the evening before we were shooting.
Yeah.
I was chatting with Heather and she was like thanking me for being there and all that kind of stuff. And I said, you know, when we found out about Ted, Mark's instant reaction, and it wasn't even just you said it should be Heather. We had talked about it not being Christoph or it not being Deanne or it not being Niall or it not being one or the other for whatever reason. And you still said Heather all the way down.
Yeah.
And I think when I mentioned it to her, she was mortified. You know what I mean? Like she was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad that you didn't choose.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put words in her mouth, and we'll definitely bring it up when we talk to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sorry, Matt. Matt is just messaging me. He's going to be here in a couple minutes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it to me, you know, we had reasons why it couldn't have been Christoph.
Yes. Yes.
And it's all about just, I don't know, Heather would have been in my mind, and yeah, not thinking about the amount of stress that would have gone in with that role. And that's why, again, like Niall really came through. But
I think for me, it was one of those, because Heather, I'd never worked with Heather before.
yeah,
You said Heather to me. And ultimately, I was ready to sort of just roll with it, dude. Like I was ready to roll with it. And then I think you maybe said, but maybe she might not want to do it.
yeah,
Right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how that conversation broke down. And then we decided on Niall.
yeah,
Because we had talked to Niall and he seemed to be like up for it. Which again, trooper. I mean, so amazing.
yeah.
Also coming in with the voiceover work at the end during
yeah.
post-production. We should have talked about that with Niall.
Well, there was a whole lot of like learning experiences that we went through while filming it, and I'm sure it's no shock to anybody that there's a lot that goes into making a TV show.
No.
And
I think it's a shock to everyone
Yeah.
how much goes into making a TV show.
that's a good point.
I don't think people realize the layers and the steps that you need, right?
Yeah,
I mean, almost all of the performers we had, I'm pretty sure, had been on an actual set before,
yeah,
right? Which is a benefit to us because, I mean, you've been on a set.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's overwhelming the first time.
I was laying in bed the other day watching something, like watching some movie on like Netflix or something, and I was just like, I started having like a whole panic attack, like a breakdown, thinking about how much. No, you know what it was? I was watching the Guardians of the Galaxy,
Okay, yeah.
and we were in the theater, and I was there with my wife, and we were watching the movie. And
Did you just start a story with I was in bed to now I'm in a theater?
I was trying to remember how.
Okay.
I was like,
okay.
I was like, where did I see this? Because there was a period where I had like a mental breakdown, and like,
Wait, but was it in bed or in the theater?
this was in the theater, but it could have carried over
I
to
see.
watching
Oh.
something else. And I
Fair
was
enough.
like, because I don't know if you've seen the credits for Guardians of the Galaxy, but like the new one, I don't know, maybe all of them, but the credits were like 15 minutes long. And I'm like, how is there so many people involved?
Yeah.
And it's like, who the hell is in charge of all that? And is it the director? Is it the producer? Like, and I thought, I'm like, the director has to have some say in something.
Not really.
So it's all the like, who's coordinating with the crew?
The showrunner usually.
So the showrunner's dealing with all those people.
The showrunner, as far as I understand it, and this, I think it's depending on the size of the production, obviously, right? There's like the showrunner, there's all the ADs, right? And then there's the crew, and then the cast and the like screen actors and all that kind of stuff, right? So the showrunner, it's their job to like follow the vision, especially in like a series or whatever.
Okay.
Right? It's their job to make sure. So, but they only deal with all the heads of the department. So every department has a head.
Okay.
Like head of continuity, head of costume, head of makeup, head of this, head of prosthetics, head of art, head of, so there's tons of departments.
So there's like, yeah, like leaders for each group.
Exactly. Yes.
So the group goes to the leader and then the leader goes to the top. So it's like
correct.
A filtered system.
And then the showrunner basically coordinates with the producers.
Okay.
And I guess maybe the studios if they're involved, right? And they're the ones who make all of those like real decisions. Like say they wanted to fire an actor or something or replace someone. Let's assume a director comes in to do a TV show and they want to fire one of the actors just because they don't like them or whatever else. Like obviously they don't have that kind of power.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's how it works. I think there's like producers and then the
producer deals with the crew and the director deals with the actors?
The producer only deals with the money and the monetization and the selling of, so the budget, all of the paperwork, all the legalities of airing it and showing the final product. That's like the producer's job. Okay. They also hire the director and hire the showrunner and hire the stunt team and they do all of that stuff too.
Okay.
Right? And so the producers are the ones who sort of own it and manage it and whatever else. Okay. But they're not on the ground at all. Right? Like you'll probably have producers hanging out on set. I thought
there was someone that dealt with the crew and then someone that dealt with the cast. I thought that's kind of how it was. Or maybe the
showrunner, I think, is the like top of the like inch. The next step is producers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Showrunner.
I think showrunner is the one. Yeah. And usually the showrunner a lot of times is also the writer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly, right? So they know what the story is from beginning to end, and they got to make sure all the pieces make sense.
That makes sense.
But they're the ones who take edits. They're the ones who change scenes. They're the ones, right? And the director is there to take what's on the page and make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's only, like, if you're doing a series where they're filming, like, you know, Sherlock Holmes, for example, or whatever, there's 3 different directors, right? Like, and it's one story arc.
There's not much. You're just kind of there.
You kind of need it to all look the same. You can't have like a Kubrick first episode and then like a...
Unless that's the idea of the show where it's like, it's known that there's a different director every time.
But I mean, most people would not guess that most serial televisions are directed by different directors, right?
Well, I would think it...
Most of them are different. Every episode is different because the episodes take so long and a lot of times the prep overlaps it's the only way they can do it. But like if you take Fubar, for example, on Netflix, different directors for each episode.
Yeah.
But the whole show looks like it was directed by one person.
Yeah, and that's kind of...
I mean, that's mostly the job of the showrunner, I would assume. Yeah. You know?
No, it's... Okay, so am I first here?
Did you lose the last game? I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah. Let me see what this guy's saying. Yeah, but that's it. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my brain around like all the levels, but yeah, there's like thousands of people go into making a big budget anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, no, it's really terrifying, you know. Well, I'm gonna start this off with a 10.
No, that's no good. No, I don't. Goldfish. Do you have any jacks?
Nope. Do you have any 3s?
I don't have any 3s. Queen? Oh. How about an ace?
No ace. Do you have ace?
Do you have a 9?
No 9. What about an 8?
No. Tit
Got the 8.
tit for tat.
Yeah. 7. Thank you. Okay. 6.
Suck it, DeBonis.
Okay. Thank you. 3.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. What about a 5?
No 5.
Yeah, I also think every production is structured slightly differently. Like us, for example, and our very small crew, which we're going to talk about in the next episode, and thank them dearly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were wearing multiple hats and doing multiple roles.
That's the new world, right? Like, it's unless you're on like a big budget thing.
That's
like,
the thing.
Yeah.
So ultimately, all of those people you see at the end credits there, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of those people, right, got paid.
Yeah.
And if you got to pay that many people,
well, that's the world. Which, by the way, do you have any jacks?
Thank
you. Thought that would happen. And then I'm going to ask for a 10.
I don't have any 10s.
Okay. I got the jack here.
Do you have a queen?
Nope. And like, it's really
I mean, ultimately, we were doing a DIY make a television show.
For sure.
That's
100%.
it, right?
And it having the cast that we did on camera really did help it. And when we talked to Heather, I would like to know, like, was she terrified about me suggesting her to be the rules lawyer?
Right.
What was the mentality? Like, we're going to obviously be talking to them about a lot of the same questions.
And I mean, ultimately, Heather has the least amount of stand-up experience at the table, right? So was that intimidating? You know what I mean? Was that?
Yeah, because I don't know how. I assume they were all friends, but I really don't know at that point.
Well, like I said, when her name was given to me by Christoph, he explained to me that she had played with them before and they hung out and they were friends. So I knew that they, it's not like any of those cast members were not going to accept someone.
Yeah.
They're not that type of people.
No, exactly, right? By the way, do you have a 4?
I don't have a 4, Mark. Do you have a 2?
Nope. Do you have any 9s?
No, but I have a lot of those, and you can have that.
Okay, take that.
Yeah, so that's something we can talk about because I know that like Deanne and Heather and Christoph and Brian have been on like Comedy Fest galas and have been on TV shows and have been on like, you know what I mean, television a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know what Heather's experience was up to that point.
Yeah, no, and that's all like stuff that we're gonna get into because I think that we're gonna just talk with we're gonna have a little interview with Heather.
Yeah.
We had our food at the beginning of this episode, so this is going to be a to be continued cliffhanger for these cards.
I see.
And we're going to get into it with Heather, and we're going to see like what really was, again, going on behind the scenes, and was it something that she was even looking forward to, and I hope she had a good time,
Would she return, and why did she vote for Christoph for Payback
we're going to get
single time?
to the bottom of it all.
Yeah.
All right, next to see us, we'll be talking with Heather. No, I'm going to put more pasta in this one.
Okay.